One of the most delicious recipes that my wife has created are these guys right here. We're making blueberry, almonds, bars, so good. What you see in front of me is what you're gonna need. Let's set the timer, see how fast we can make this. So we're gonna start off with 1 cup of almond flour. You're gonna take a big, large bowl. And again, this is kind of my measuring cup for now. So I'm gonna take 1 cup of almond flour. We'll just put a little bit more in. Okay, next we're gonna take, I'm just double checking all the measurements here so that I don't disappoint Amy with the outcome of this, because she's really the baker of the family. She, you know, puts all this stuff together in such an amazing way. I'd be doing her a disservice if I didn't stay to the recipe. So 1/2 cup of shredded coconuts, a little dash of salt, and we're gonna put in 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. So I'm just going to use the tip of my knife here to represent. Well, if I can even get the baking soda out. All right, that might be a little more helpful. So that's about 1/4 and 1/2. So that's 1/2 of a teaspoon. That was fully measured out there on the edge of a knife. Pretty skillful, I may say so myself. Okay, so I'm just gonna give this a little mix around. I'll get a fork, probably be a little bit easier. Okay, so this is kind of the dry ingredients that we're gonna start with. We're gonna mix these guys together, make sure they're all nicely combined. And then next up, we're gonna be putting in some melted coconut butter or coconut oil, almond butter, and some chopped up walnuts and pumpkin seeds and all sorts of other good stuff. So first and foremost, I need 1/4 cup of melted coconut oil. I don't have that amount in this jar. So here's where we're gonna start to defy the rules and reinvent ourselves in the kitchen. So I'm gonna take whatever I have left in here plus some butter, and we're gonna combine that on the stovetop. So I'm gonna get the stovetop going. Gonna get nice and warmed up, give that a second. So again, they're very similar types of fats, right? Butter and coconut oil, very stable saturated fats, really good to use, and they're really not gonna change the outcome of this recipe. Maybe the flavor becomes a little bit different as we use a little more butter. Nonetheless, it's all good to go. Okay, so next up what we're gonna do is we're gonna add in 1 cup of almond butter. So I've got crunchy almond butter as opposed to regular, and I don't know, I just forgot to look at the fact that it was crunchy as opposed to creamy. So that's gonna change the texture of these bars a little bit. So I'm just using this as kind of like a guidepost, and I'm just scooping right in to the mixture with the almond butter. So that's about 1 cup. I'm gonna give that a little mix around, let it all kind of come together. Okay, I'm gonna take my walnuts. We're gonna do about 1/2 cup. So I'll just use my hand to determine that. Get a more suitable knife, and we're gonna chop these guys up. So as you can tell, so far so good. We have a gluten-free recipe, which is looking pretty good in terms of nutrient quality here. We got lots of good fats from the walnuts, good protein from the almond flour and the almond butter. We're also going to take about 1/2 handful of pumpkin seeds, and you can just put them in like that. You can chop them up if you want to, you don't have to. Put a couple more in. The recipe also calls for dried blueberries. I've only got fresh ones, so we're going to use fresh ones. You can also use, you can try dried cranberries if you want. You can use goji berries. You can do whatever you want with this recipe pretty much. It's really up to you. Okay, so let's go to our fat over here. And let's get it into the pan. So I'm going to take what I can from the coconut oil. So I've got about that much. So 1 big heaping tablespoon, probably 2. And I'm going to just split the difference with the butter. So it's like I'm bringing together 2 nations here, the nation of coconut oil and butter. Let them beautifully marry each other, come together. And we will bring that into the bowl, and that's gonna allow the mixture to become a lot more kind of cohesive, if you will. So I'll move this stuff out of the way so you can see what's going on. We're gonna be adding in some agave in just a moment. Okay, so agave, we're looking at 1/3 of a cup. So we'll put in about 1/3. You can play around with the sweetness. We've tried this several times. We found 1/3 of a cup is pretty good. Any more becomes a little bit too sweet. Also depends on the type of sweetener you're using. If you're using maple syrup or honey, it might be a little bit different. So the melted butter is just about there. Coconut oil has melted. Just another minute or so. So again, I'm using fresh blueberries, and then we're gonna need to kind of moisten up that pan. And I'm back. So I'm gonna grab a little, actually I'm gonna grab a little pinch off that melted butter, and I'm just gonna lubricate. See, like, look at all these like little shortcuts and hacks that I've got going on. Totally unconventional, but I think it works. I'm gonna try to scrape out whatever I have left in here onto, whoa, come on. All right. So the worst thing, the worst thing to have happen is you made this amazing dessert and then it sticks to the bottom of the pan. So do what you can to really get it nice and lubricated with some good coconut oil, and that is that. So I'm gonna grab our fat, which is now done. We're gonna marry it into the mixture, and this is gonna allow everything to now kind of come together a lot more easily. So it's all gonna come together in like a big kind of clumpy ball, like a dough, which is pretty much what we're after. If you want to use your hands, by all means, go for it. There's no kitchen police coming after you. Okay, so once you have enough, once you got this kind of all done, then you can put in your blueberries, and we'll see how this turns out with fresh blueberries. I'm sure the blueberries will obviously melt in the oven, so this is going to change the outcome of the recipe a little bit. Don't tell Amy, but it's okay. So again, if you want to use dried fruit, just make sure that it's organic, does not contain sulfites. And that's really important with dried fruit, because most dried fruit does contain sulfites. Most of the commercially available stuff. If you go to a health food store, you can generally find really good organic dried fruits. And there we are. So there's our final mixture. Now what we're gonna do is we're just going to, we're gonna pop it into an 8x8 pan. Okay, so this might not take up the whole thing, but we're just gonna put it in here. And you can do this into, like, you can put these into like muffin trays or whatever you want, really. There's no right or wrong way to do this. This is just based on the way that we've done this. So, and then again, I don't know if this is gonna fill this whole tray, but we'll see if we can. Let's just maybe use half of it, okay? So we'll use half of the tray, and if you want to keep it thicker, then you can use a little bit less based on this recipe. Okay, so there we go. So that's how much we're using. I don't know if that's 2/3. And what we're gonna do next is we are going to put this into the oven at 350 degrees for 15 to 18 minutes, and then we will see how this all goes down when it comes out. Cool. So the blueberry almond bars are now out of the oven. They've been cooling for about 10 minutes, and we're gonna see how this works, because again, I used fresh blueberries, which means there's gonna be a little bit more water content than if we use dried blueberries or any kind of dried fruit. So we'll see how this works. And this is the finished product. You can obviously kind of scoop this out, and if you're gonna keep it, what I would do is actually kind of keep it, and you can wrap it in tinfoil, not tinfoil, but saran wrap, and you can keep it on the countertop or in the fridge, and it would keep for about 2 to 3 days if you keep it in the fridge. On the countertop, obviously within the day. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut a little piece off and see how this turned out, and try to show you the inside here. So this is definitely a little bit more moist than it should be. Again, I would I think the issue there is that we've used a fresh blueberry, so the water content is a little bit more than it should be. But let me, let's just taste this out. Let's see if it tastes like memories. Whoop. Definitely still really good. But it is a lot more moist than it should be. And I think that is because we used fresh blueberries. So if you do want the true recipe and the true outcome, I would suggest using dried fruit as is indicated in the recipe. But nonetheless, it's a really nice, not too sweet type of little bar that you can enjoy throughout the day. And thank you to my wife, Amy, for developing it. Hope you guys enjoy it.